So within 5 minutes, our principal ma'am will join. So we'll start.
So, whenever you say, I'm ready.
Ma'am has joined the session. Principal Madam has joined the session.
Okay. A very good morning to one and all. I welcome you all to the last session of the debating sponsored 2-day national webinar on recent advances in sciences and its applications. I would like to tell all about a little bit about our college. Guru Nanak College Sri Muktsar Sahib was established to cater to the needs of the rural areas of around the holy city Sri Muktsar Sahib. It was a girls' college till 2 years ago, when it was converted into a co-ed institution. Now coming to our webinar today, students, we all know what is biodiversity. Biodiversity is the biological variety and variability of life on Earth. It is a measure of variation at the genetic, species, and ecosystem level. Agricultural biodiversity or agrobiodiversity or agrodiversity is the variety and variability of animals, plants, and microorganisms. Now, you all know there was a great famine, also known as Great Hunger or Great Famine or Irish Potato Famine, a period of mass starvation and disease in Ireland from 1845 to 1852. And the main cause of the potato famine was the potato blight, which infected potato crops throughout Europe during the 1940s, causing an additional 1 lakh deaths outside Ireland and influencing the widespread European revolutions. Long-term causes include the single crop dependence, the widespread dependency on a single crop and disproportionate share of potatoes grown in Ireland among the potato plants in that is Irish lumper, that is
Oh, by number. By button.
the lack of genetic Students, I request you to switch off your mics. The lack of genetic variability among the potato plants in Ireland and Europe had such devastating effects in Ireland, similar areas of Europe. So today we will talk about this agrobiodiversity, and I have the privilege to introduce you all to Dr. Harsh Nair, Professor, Department of Botany, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Dr. Harsh Nair has done his MSc and PhD in Botany from PAU, that is Punjab Agricultural University, Ludhiana. He joined ARS in 1989 and worked at Central Rice Research Institute, Cuttack, for some time before joining Himachal Pradesh Agricultural University, Palampur, where he served till 1999. Sir joined at Punjab University, Chandigarh in the year 2000 and now working as professor since 2006. Professor Nair's research interest is in stress biology of crops, where he has been focusing on drought, cold, and heat stress in various legumes such as chickpea, lentil, and mung bean. He has developed several collaborations with many national institutions such as PAU Ludhiana, HPAU Palampur, Indian Institute of Pulses Research Kanpur, and many international organizations such as University of Western Australia, CSIRO Australia, ICARDA Morocco, ICRISAT, and World Vegetable Center to work on abiotic stresses on legumes. He has worked on 15 national and international research projects, has 150 research publications in high impact factor research journals, and has an H index of 51. He has also guided 25 PhD students. Sir's lab has been listed as Excellence in India by a group of 8 top Australian universities. He has been rated recently in the list of top 2% of Indian scientists in the world ranking by Stanford University, USA. Professor Nair was recently awarded Professor K.K. Nanda Oration Award and medal by Indian Society of Plant Physiology. I thank you, sir, for accepting our request to deliver a talk on agrobiodiversity for food security. I now request our worthy principal ma'am, Dr. Tejinder Kaur Taliwal, to welcome Professor Harsh Nair.
डॉक्टर साहब सत श्री अकाल जी।
ਸਤਿ ਸ਼੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੈਡਮ।
ਸਰ ਬਹੁਤ ਅੱਛਾ ਲੱਗਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਐਗਰੀਕਲਚਰ ਯੂਨੀਵਰਸਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਐਲਮਨਸ ਹੋ and you are great alumnus of PAU. I am very happy. And first of all, I congratulate the department for organizing two-day webinar on biodiversity for food security. I am very pleased to know that Dr. Harsh Nair is a top scientist of India, is with us for enlightening the students and teachers. Topic selected for webinar is very valuable, as Agrobiodiversity provides stability, adaptability, and constitute a key element of the livelihood strategies of rural communities throughout the world. Even the United Nations recognized the right to food in the Declaration of Human Rights in 1948 and has since said that it is vital for enjoyment of all human rights. The World Summit on Food Security too declared the food should not be used an instrument for political and economic pressure. I hope all participants will know the dependence of people on agriculture and causes and factors affecting our food security. Students will also become aware, Dr. Sahab, about how increasing the agriculture and crop diversity can save us from future catastrophes. So I hope your lecture will enlighten the students and teachers both. I hope session will go great with Dr. Nair. Dr. Saab, I again welcome you to share your valuable views on biodiversity. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
The stage
Mandeep,
is
you're not.
now. I thank Principal Ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Right. All right. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to interact with your students. It's a pleasure to have interaction. This is my first interaction with your college also, and I take it as an honor. So I'm going to talk about many general aspects about agrodiversity. The reason is that our country is predominant in agriculture all over the world. So it's very important for our new generation to know from where our food is coming, basically. Many of the students are not basically aware from our, basically who are not coming from rural backgrounds or from urban backgrounds. They're not basically aware what kind of food is available, from where it is coming, and what kind of genetic resources we have. So Dr. Mandeep has made my task easy by defining what agrobiodiversity is. I'm going to share my slide. Just let me know if they are in order. Give me a few seconds to settle down. All right, just let me know if they're okay. Are they okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So let's start with this one. You can see the topic which I've chosen is this pertains to our larger problem these days. We are losing actually a lot of our diversity. You can see here a lot of pictures of potato, starting from the first one left side, and tomatoes, and then beans. There are many types which you might not have seen, but we still have their genetic resources. But we have ignored them. We're not using them. So I'm going to talk about different aspects about that. Let's see what would be my outline. So Mandeep has already discussed about the definitions. What is biodiversity? You people have been studying at your graduate level. And if you're postgraduate students also, it's part of your syllabus. What green revolution has done to agrodiversity? What are the levels of agrodiversity? Mandeep also mentioned that. What are the benefits? Principal Madam also mentioned that. Status of agrodiversity in different crop plants. I'll be going to show. I'll be showing you some pictures here of different crops, the genetic resources which we have, genetic diversity we have, and the numbers. All some values will be given to you. The kind of numbers which we have in different crops. Why we are losing agrodiversity, and what are the possible consequences on our food security, and how to store it. We have ways to store it. You might have been studying in your earlier classes. There are gene banks, there are storage banks. How to do it, and then what is the participation? What kind of efforts are being done at farmers levels, at tribal people levels, and common and with what are the modern technologies which are helping us to preserve biodiversity or increase biodiversity. So what is biodiversity? Very general definition. Whatever you see, the life forms, plants, animals, and microbes, the different types which you see, the different types which you study, they all constitute biodiversity. But instead of going into all these components, so I preferred that I should restrict myself to agrodiversity, because this is one of my research area too, to some extent. And this is a great area to work also, because we don't have much scientists working on this area. And later on, you can take admissions into some courses which are dealing with that. You can make it as a career also. It's very useful area also in the future. So what is agrobiodiversity? This is a broad term which is dealing with all the plants, animals, and microbes which are participating in agriculture. So you may be knowing a set of plants, animals, and microbes which are being used in agriculture. And there is diversity at the genetic level, where we have a lot of genetic diversity, natural one. We have induced genetic diversity also. We have species diversity, and then we have ecosystem levels diversity, because the plants are being cultivated at different places. So we have different zones, agroclimatic zones. So all these contribute to diversity in agriculture. So why it's important? Because it is sustaining our agro ecosystems. It's very useful that we should have diverse kind of crops. And it's very important that they contribute to the function and the processes which are contributing eventually into production systems. Whatever food grade you get, or what kind of agriculture output you're getting, this is coming from basically use of genetic diversity. And we are getting lots of food and non-food production products. Is there any echo in the voice somewhere? Is it okay? Am I audible?
But immediately check it, please.
Am I audible? Is it okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's
Right.
okay.
So you just let me know if there is a problem. I can stop there. So agrodiversity is capable of giving us a lot of different kinds of food, basically. So we are getting our food by tapping into the different biological resources that constitute diversity. And agriculture and food production, they're very closely linked to this biodiversity. If we don't have biodiversity, we are not able to, we shall not be able to get future crops. Our agriculture is going to suffer. I'll be telling you many reasons subsequently about that. So basically, if you look around, you are getting everything from agriculture: food, fiber, and fuel. We have fuel crops also, which are being used. And this is a knowledge which is given to you right from your schooling. So, but we don't understand this knowledge or the impact of this knowledge or significance of this knowledge until we start losing this information, or we start losing these genetic resources. India, this is a map of the world, basically, and it's showing you, the part is showing you the footprint of the agriculture. So you can compare here. The greenest parts are those which are giving us the largest footprint in terms of agriculture. You can see India is primarily a big agricultural country. Around 75% of our population is directly or indirectly dependent upon agriculture. And we are getting all our food. Now we have become self-sufficient. Earlier we were begging bowl, and this was because of the Green Revolution.
Excuse me.
Now currently, yes, go on.
So the slides are not moving. It's the first slide only. Yes. Now it's
Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you should have told me about this one. So did I show you this one?
No, sir. We were only seeing the first slide. I thought you were just giving an introduction, so I didn't speak earlier.
All right. Okay. I'll take a few seconds and explain again. This is the outline of my talk. What is biodiversity and agrodiversity? How green revolution has impacted agrodiversity? What are the levels of agrodiversity? What are the benefits of agrodiversity? And what is the current status of agrodiversity in different crop plants? I'll be talking about some examples with pictures. And we are losing agrodiversity. What are the reasons and consequences? What kind of conservation practices we should be using? There are different gene banks, storage banks, how people are participating in conserving that. And lastly, I'll be talking about the modern technologies, how they are helping. So this is okay now? Slide has moved?
Yes, sir.
So this is biodiversity. So your teachers might have been telling you, and Mandeep just defined that, the sum total of all the plants and animals and fungi and microbes which are present on our planet. So I restricted myself to agrodiversity, basically. The plants, animals, and microbes, the genetic variability or the variety in these organisms which are participating in contributing towards agrodiversity. That refers to agrodiversity. So this is different at genetic level, species level, at ecosystem levels. I'll be giving you some examples with that. It's very important to sustain the biodiversity because it is useful to stabilize the agro ecosystems which are producing our food, all the functions and processes which are meant for the production of the food. And we have many different kinds of processes which are contributing to food as well as non-food agricultural items. So agrodiversity basically is closely linked to our food production. If we are missing agrodiversity, we'll be losing our food in future. We will also be losing the future food. We are focusing mainly now on getting future food. So our climate is changing. We are losing a lot of genetic resources. As a result of that, even the present day crops are going to be threatened as we are facing lots of adversaries because of climate. Agriculture is providing us a lot of resources. Basically, whatever you're using in your everyday life, this is coming from agriculture. Food, fiber, and fuel. This is basically coming from agriculture. This is okay? Slide is okay? Visible? Mandeep? Yes?
Yes, sir, it's okay.
All right. So India is one of the largest countries which is contributing to agriculture. So the green part you see, this is contributing to the agricultural footprint. So we have the largest crop production, one of the largest crop production in the world. We are largest producers of livestock. We also have great resources of forestries, fisheries, and thus aquaculture also. It's very important in our country because, as I mentioned, 75% of our population is directly or indirectly dependent upon agriculture. Now at this time, agriculture has come under growing pressure because the population is increasing. At the same time, we're not getting good varieties also. The production has stabilized. Then there is problem of climate change. Then there is increasing hunger also. So this means, and population is increasing, most important. So we have to feed the larger number of people by 2050. We need more food. This means we have to focus on these resources, genetic resources. So it will be a major challenge to increase our production to get more food in the future. That will be very important to sustain and increase our food security for the increasing population. Now, plant genetic resources, which are basically huge in number. The documentation says that we have around 400,000 species of the vascular plants. But interestingly, just 6,000 species have been cultivated for food production. And out of that, see that the number is decreasing as I'm speaking with decrease in the number. So we have 6,000 species which are available for food or which are cultivated for food. But only less than 200 species, they have significant production levels at the global level. At the same time, we know that just 10 to 12 edible crops, they are being used globally. And they will contribute, or they are contributing, 75% of our crop production. So if you look around, you just see selective types of the food, generally wheat and rice in Punjab, and to some extent maize also. And in pulses, you're looking at some of the pulses, lentils are there, then chickpeas are there. But if we count at the global level, wheat, maize, rice, soybeans, potatoes, cassava is a tuberous crop, which is in Africa. These crops are contributing towards the largest part of the edible crops. This means we are just focusing on very few crops. On the other hand, we have a lot of resources available to change our food habits, to increase our food habits. So what had been done in Green Revolution? Green Revolution might have been taught in your earlier classes also. Green Revolution means introduction of high-yielding varieties of the cereals, mainly wheat and rice. You're looking here at two great people, Dr. Norman Borlaug, whose birthday was, I think, yesterday, and Professor Swaminathan. Dr. Borlaug is no more now. Professor Swaminathan is still alive. He visited our department also. These two people joined hands and they introduced high-yielding cereals in our country in 1964. And we were a begging bowl initially. Then we turned into self-sufficient food preparing country or food producing country. So now we are quite self-sufficient in our country at the national level also. And we are basically donating food also. We are selling food also. So it's because of the contribution of these two great people. And eventually many people joined hands and not listed the contribution of other people. No, but what has happened because of that? Just two crops are dominating. You see here, the present generation can also see that. We are just looking at wheat and rice all the time. Wheat in the winter, rice in the summer season. This means it is promoting monoculture. You don't see much other crops. Farmers are not taking up other crops. There are reasons for that. Not going into this discussion at the moment. But what has happened? Before 1964, there was a traditional system of agriculture. If we have some colleagues here who were born around 64 or before that, you might be aware that we used to grow a lot of millets, different millets. We used to grow different kinds of vegetables. But with time, the agriculture has become commercial. So this means the farmer has to get profits. So that's why they have restricted themselves to just two crops. So what has happened? The monoculture has reduced agrodiversity. This means we are not getting those crops which we used to get earlier. At the same time, we are losing wild species of many crops. So we don't know much about that. And the limitation is that we're losing that knowledge also. Present generation, as I've seen in Punjab, most of the people are leaving agriculture because of one of the other reasons. And they're leaving, even they're leaving state also. They're going to other countries also. Now, who's going to look after all these things? That's a matter of debate, which can be discussed later on at any time. So what has happened? Commercial agriculture means industrial farming. As I mentioned, it's leading to monoculture. This is reducing biodiversity. You're looking here at a monoculture field, just one crop. As Dr. Mandeep mentioned, we had a potato famine. There's a problem. That was a problem in Ireland, so whole crop was gone. This is the limitation. If one disease strikes, the whole crop is lost. In place of that, if we have multiple crops, or 2 or 3 crops growing in the field, at least we can have one crop can be saved. So what has happened? With industrial farming, the breeders has picked up high yielding and better varieties. This means we have further reduced the number, and this is further reducing the genetic diversity. Now, this has pros and cons. At one time we need more food. This means we have to do this practice, but at the same time we're losing diversity. So this has both pros and cons. So just giving you an example from squash. Everybody has seen this fruit. This is just a cartoon or a diagram. You all have seen squash. This is a slide actually I picked up from the internet. Earlier, there were so many land races grown in Central America. Thousands of varieties were grown, local varieties were grown. And they were for taste, resistance, productivity, disease resistance. But over the time, what has happened? Breeders, they started selecting for their bigger size, for bigger yield. That compromised certain factors. As a result of that, we have got just few varieties now. We started with, say, it was thousands, and now after breeding, we have just few in number. And we have lost many things. Your grandparents may be talking about many things that we have lost the taste in many food crops. Earlier, the wheat used to be different. Rice also used to be different. Just in case of squash, we have not only lost the taste, we have lost stress resistance, we have lost disease resistance. So this means we're losing these things as we are moving towards monoculture. So what are the levels of agrodiversity? On the right side, just look at, you can appreciate the varieties or the types of the tomatoes which are available. This is not just one type of tomato. These are thousands of different varieties. 3,000 varieties are available. 30 species are available. 13 species are available. What you know is Lycopersicon esculentum, but there are other species available too. So what are the levels of agrodiversity? Genetic, species, and ecosystem. So I'll be defining each one individually with examples. So at genetic diversity comes from natural differences in the genes. So it's a naturally occurring genetic diversity. On the right side, you can see the types of the potato tubers, the diversity in the potato tubers. This is stored in International Potato Center, Peru. Peru is one of the largest potato producing country. You might have seen just one type of potato, say this one, which is available in the market, or this one. See here, we have so many different types. And interestingly, in Peru market, if you look at the pictures, even if you Google it, You will see lots of these varieties are being sold in the market also, but not in India. So if you look at the number as a student, sometimes you are getting questions also in the examination, how many varieties are available for different crop, different types of plant species. So I've just listed here for your benefit. There are 180 wild species which are not being considered for cultivation. They are just stored. 4,000 varieties, 7,000 accessions. I'll be defining this term later on. It's just referring to the collections of the same species. So what is genetic diversity? It's naturally occurring diversity. There can be wild relatives of the food crops also, which refers to genetic diversity. Then farmers and breeders, they are breeding different varieties all the time. This means you're getting different kinds of crops, different kinds of varieties. That also leads to genetic diversity. And there is a considerable genetic diversity in all the crop species which are being used for the food, particularly where they have originated. I'll be showing you one picture in one of the slides where I'll be emphasizing the centers of origins of different crops. Centers of origins are rich. Say, for example, Peru is rich in all this genetic diversity. If we want germplasm means the collection of, say, potato, we have to approach the center. This is how the research is done. And all the agricultural institutions and other organizations which are working on these aspects, they are in touch with all these centers of origin. I'll be giving you some examples later on also. Species diversity. This is diversity in the number and the abundance of different species which are used. For example, this is, you're looking at different types of dals, pulses, which you're using. You're using this one, mung bean every day, you're using urad bean also. They're all Vigna species, Vigna genus. And you'll be surprised to know there are 200 species just in Vigna. So there are, so many species which are not being cultivated. So we have to encourage these ones. Just for your information, mung bean, rice bean, urad bean, azoki bean. You might have seen these two ones. I'm not sure whether you have seen these two ones, but they are available. They're not being promoted because there is no market. We have to promote that. So this means how the species diversity can contribute towards agro diversity. So what is the significance of having genetic diversity? Genetic diversity is giving us a lot of things. Basically, there are all the collections, they can be source of rich nutrients, which we don't know. Say present-day varieties, they are not having good composition of nutrients because with increase in yield, we have increased the size of the grains, but they're not rich in nutrients. We can get stress tolerance-related genes. We can get resistance to pests and diseases from the genotypes, from other collections. And there are many other traits where the genetic diversity can be exploited. Then there is associated biodiversity. In agriculture, we have so many other things. If you're coming from agricultural family, your family might be raising, they may be having chicken farms, they may be having, say, poultry farms, pig farms, they may be having fish farm also. So there are many other aspects related to agriculture biodiversity. So variations in all these animals, that also contributes to agrodiversity. Agriculture is basically comprising not only of plants, it's comprising of animals also, livestock of different types, and then fishes also. Everything is related to each other. You affect one kind of diversity, you're going to affect another kind of diversity. Then we have diversity in ecosystems. You can see here 3 different pictures. They are from different locations. This means it's having different kinds of plants, different kinds of trees, different kinds of crops being grown, because we have to take into consideration, say if you're coming from hills, somebody coming from hills, they have a terrace cultivation and so on. If you're coming from South India, they have different kinds of crops. So everything, it can be man-made. In ecosystems can be man-made. There can be natural ecosystems also. So this means different kinds of plant species, crop species, which are grown in different ecosystems. They are adding to the agrodiversity. How agrodiversity is contributing to food security and agriculture. So you might have seen these terms earlier also. We categorize the agrodiversity based upon its contribution to ecosystem services. And what are ecosystem services? And these are the services I have written down here, which are provided by well-functioning ecosystems. This means what kind of services? Listed here are 4 things: provisioning, supporting, regulating, and cultural. So I'll be dealing with each one of this one by one, starting with the provisioning. Is it okay? Good so far?
Yes, sir.
All right. So provisioning. Provisioning means, so the main purpose of agriculture is to provide food, basically. So food is referring to the diverse types of items which you're getting, and not only from plants. You're getting meat from the animals also, from the fish, from poultry, and from chickens. So there are, as I mentioned, there are a number of species which are edible, but we are using only few of them. So in cereals, say rice and wheat. In pulses, you generally see chana, so mung bean, urad bean, lentil. I think 3 or 4 types. Rarely you will see horse gram, you won't see soybean. Many pulses, say Vigna species, only 2 or 3. The other, they are available, but we are not using it. Many reasons for not using it also. Oil seeds, you're using just very few. Say brassica, Indian mustard, you're using oil. Canola these days, it's available. Canadian oil, it's coming from mustard. You're using selective number of fruits, using selective number of vegetables which are available in the market. So they are contributing to diet diversity or everyday's diet diversity. I'm going to show you now a few pictures of different types of crop plants. I think there'll be 10 slides or so, just to give you some values, how much accessions or collections are there, and which center is storing that. This is kind of educative. It will be a kind of educative for you. So I'm referring here to a term accession. Accession means it's a group of related plant material of a single species, which is collected at one time from one location. For example, I'm mentioning here Triticum aestivum, bread wheat. You collect all the collections from Punjab. That will be accessions from Punjab. It will remain as Triticum aestivum. You get it from Haryana, you get it from Himachal, then pull it up from 3 states and then start examining them. Is there any difference? So they are basically Triticum aestivum, all of them. But what has happened? Over the years, so the Triticum aestivum, which is growing in the hills, it will start developing resistance to some stresses, for example, cold, or for some disease resistance. At the same time, in Punjab, it will start developing some kind of resistance to another kind of a trait. So this is variation, slight variations which occur when they move from one place to the another place. So this is what accession is. I hope I have made it clear. So I'll be using this term in subsequent slides. You see here, you might not have seen wheat of this kind, but now it's being promoted also. You might have seen only this kind of wheat. This is available, and there are, look at the number. India had a lot of collections earlier, but we are losing it because traditional knowledge is going away. People are leaving farming also, many reasons for that. So, but at the global level, just giving you one indication, 800,000 accessions, 14 species, not only Triticum aestivum, 14 species, and 30,000 varieties have been released. And there is a center in Mexico called CIMMYT. CIMMYT, actually, if you translate it to English, it becomes International Maize and Wheat Improvement Center. It's giving us all the germplasm or collections of the wheat. Rice, you might have seen just one type of rice, but now International Rice Research Institute, it has 132,000. In India also, you will be surprised that India has 1 lakh collections of rice. There are 24 species and 40,000 varieties. See here, you might not have seen all these types. You just see 1 or 2 types, but there are so many variations which generally you don't see. If you enter into agriculture as a career, many people are moving to Canada. I'm particularly mentioning the situation in Punjab. And people from my department are also going to Canada after doing their MSc or PhD. Canada is agriculture oriented country. Australia is agriculture-oriented country. US is an agriculture-oriented country. If you train yourself well in these aspects, the taxonomy, ecology, and some aspects of agriculture, where you can understand how these collections can be handled, and you gain this expertise, you will have demand in these countries. So, coming back to the variations. In India, as I mentioned, India is one of the countries where rice is used as a major staple diet. And these are the names of the rice where at different places. I took it from our government's website, where different kinds of rice names which are given. And rice are different. Rice seeds, the rice grains, they look different. Their colored grains also, size is also different. Their boiling traits are different, cooking traits are different. So most common name, which at least I have heard, is Parmal, which you see here. But there are so many other types. If you're coming from a different state and attending this talk, you can see if you're coming from that state, you can see the type of the collections which are being grown there. This is a common name. And in India, Central Rice Research Institute, I worked there when I started my career from as Agriculture Research Service, which is kind of a civil service in agriculture. This institute is storing a lot of collections. Its job is to store all these collections. Maize. You might have seen just one or two types of maize, but we have so many. 135,000 accessions of maize crop, 2 species. You may be familiar with just one. 12,000 varieties, and CIMMYT, International Maize Wheat Improvement Center, is storing that. Millets. A lot of emphasis is being done on millets these days. Your parents might have heard, you might have heard from them also. Earlier, before Green Revolution, we used to have Jawar Bajra a lot in Punjab, Haryana, and in Rajasthan these days it's still very common. The Jawar is sorghum and Bajra is pearl millet. And you can see here all the millets, different names, common names, scientific names. These are now being encouraged again. We are trying to revive it. We have lost it. In Rajasthan, it's still a culture. Tribal people are still using it. But our daily diet is just wheat and rice. So, but they have a lot of benefits. I'll be talking about these ones in 3 and 4 slides. So there are 8 types, 30,000 accessions, International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics, which is at Hyderabad. I have a collaboration with this institute, which is working on millets, promoting their cultivation also. Pulses, as I mentioned, I work on pulses as my research area. There are so many different types of pulses, but we are just, we may be familiar with just few. Say chickpeas, pigeon pea is arhar, lentil is masar, and then some other ones which we are using, rajma. So, but there are different types of pulses which are listed here, which are not being grown, which are not being made available in the market also, but they are available in our collections, and the ICRISAT's Institute is promoting their cultivation. Chickpea, very common, chana, white chana and black chana, everybody's familiar with that. It has just one species, Cicer aretinum, which is a cultivar. The wild species, there are many. There are many wild species. There are 43 wild species are available. We are working on chickpea, so we are getting these seeds from ICRISAT, and we are working on stress tolerance in this crop. You look the type of the seeds, very, very small in comparison to the cultivar. But they are source of genes which are having tolerance to stresses. That's why we are working upon that. Just citing the importance of using these ones. Broad beans, rajma, many different types. So we have 40,000 accessions, 70 species, and the wild species which you see here, it's Phaseolus polystechios. The cultivar is Phaseolus vulgaris. So differences in the broad beans. This is French bean. We also called it as a French bean. This is available in the market generally, but we have other types too. So efforts are being done to popularize these ones. Dry beans, as I mentioned, Vigna is one species, but we have other ones, Vigna ambulata, Mungo, angularis. 200 species. Indian Institute of Pulses Research is storing that. These are the wild beans. These are the wild beans which you might not have seen, but they are being used to identify sources of stress tolerance. Many types of peas, 98,000 collections, 6 species, more than 100 varieties are available in India. And the institute which is working on that, Ethiopian Institute of Biodiversity. And you might not have seen this type. Now, this is available in Ethiopia. And our scientists have also started working. Many people are working on these aspects, as I mentioned. This is wild sweet pea, which is also not available in the market, but people are trying to promote it. Citrus, more than 1,000 accessions, 10 species, more than 100 varieties. Indian Institute of Horticultural Research, which maintains them. This is in Bangalore. Mango, India is home to mangoes. We have 1,500 varieties, 26,000 collections. Indian Institute of Horticulture Research is maintaining all these collections. Now, you might not have seen this type of mango. Sometimes in Uttar Pradesh, I have visited a market where I could see this one, but it's very rare. So, like rice, since mango is one of the major fruits in our country, you can see different kinds of names given to the different mango varieties. The common ones which you see, the sherry and safeda, langra. Now, other ones you might not have heard. So this is a part of culture in India. Using mango is a rich part of culture in our country. Apples, 39,000 accessions, 55 species, 7,500 varieties. The exceptions which you might not have seen. This is the black apple, grown in Nepal. It's available in Nepal. This is white apple, grown in Siberia, Russia. Pumpkins have huge amount of variety. 800 accessions, 5 species, 45 varieties. Peppers, you see these, a lot of variations in around. You might not have seen this one. This is white pepper, sweet cloud variety. It looks like a extracted teeth. So it's not available in the market in our country, but in other countries. So 4,000 accessions, 50,000 varieties. Now, there are underutilized crops also, which are not getting much attention. So we have to pay attention. We have to encourage our farmers to grow that. We have to develop markets for that. For example, amaranthus, Chulai, you use this one during fasting seasons, Chulai ke laddu. Chinopodium, this is quinoa. Quinoa is available in the market now. Packets are available. A lot of emphasis is being given on this plant because it's having medicinal components. So seeds are available in the market. Buckwheat, grown in Himachal. Lab, same bean. It's also being paid more attention. Now, these types of crops, they are neglected, underutilized, but what is the quality? They are rich in micronutrients and other healthful components. For example, amaranthus seeds, seal ke laddu, which you take during fasting seasons, they are having 14% protein, 15% protein. This is a cereal otherwise. Wheat seed is having very less seed, protein, 7 to 8% only. But this is having very high protein content in that. So the scientists, they are trying to encourage them. Sweet potato, very commonly available around. Scientists are finding out variations so that it can be used as a source of mineral or vitamin-rich food. So you see here on right side, this is a sweet potato, which is having this much units of vitamin A, which is many times more than the normally available sweet potato. So people are trying to identify what kind of varieties can be cultivated, what kind of food can be promoted further and given to the farmers. Now, this is just an article which I should tell you that if somebody is interested in detail, people are now trying to find out what kind of crops we have forgotten because we have stopped cultivating them. And we should start promoting their cultivation also. So they are important because they are dense in nutrients, they are rich in nutrients, they have resilience to the climate change, they are available or adaptable locally, and they will be part of the future smart food. These are the terms being used these days. These are just fancy terms, but what is more important is that we have to be secure in our future food production systems. So that's why now people have started focusing on these crops which we have forgotten. What is a supporting role? This is not only, I've told you that they are not only meant for providing food services, but they are also a source of other things. What is a supporting role? Supporting role is that the collections are a good source of breeding. We are able to develop, or we are able to use these collections to produce new varieties. And these new varieties could be stress tolerant, disease tolerant. So this is a supporting role. For example, now, what breeders have done to promote biodiversity. This is a wild cabbage. As a botany student, if you are, Brassica oleracea. Now, just from this one plant, you see in the market cabbage, Brussels sprouts, kohlrabi, if you see, I'm sure it's available, kale, broccoli, cauliflower. A breeder has been able to select for terminal buds to produce cabbage, for lateral buds to produce Brussels sprouts, for stem to produce kohlrabi, for leaves to produce kale, for flowers and clusters to produce cauliflower. This is just one example how breeders are capable of producing different types of crops and foods for our consumption. So just one wild cabbage species. This is important for botany students. How wild species can give rise to different types of food crops. Just in one family, it remains the same. This is in pictorial form, going to skip this one. Now, another supporting role is wild relatives. Wild relatives are a good source of genes which can save our present-day cultivated crops. Whenever we are losing resistance to some disease, we start exploring the wild germplasm. Let me give you importance of the wild germplasm. Our present-day maize comes from a wild relative, this one. So breeders started it thousands of years back. It's a thousands of year back evolution. It started thousands of years back. Started from here, and ultimately we get this one. Similarly, wheat. Local wheat is like this one, bread wheat. It has come from wild wheat, which used to look like this way. So what breeders have done, they have made crosses, lots of crosses. What you are getting, lots of grains here, lots of grains here. This is how breeding introduces magic to the cultivation. Similarly, in tomato, this is a wild tomato. This is the cultivated tomato. From here, the breeders have increased the size to this much. And the wild variety, wild species is Lycopersicon hirsutum. The cultivar is Lycopersicon esculentum. Coming to regulating role, there are many regulating services also, which Agrobiodiversity provides. There are so many different types of pollinators, so many different kinds of insects around a particular plant. They are also helping in carbon capture, carbon sequestration. Most of the crop species which are grown today, they are dependent upon the pollinators, insect pollinators. You see here the variety, say approximately 75% of the crops would need pollinators, and Agrobiodiversity is providing them a habitat. This means the Agrobiodiversity is increasing the diversity in the pest system, in the insect systems, and there are certain beneficial insects. There are beneficial organisms also, which are deeply associated with just one plant species. If one plant species becomes extinct, it affects the pollination behavior, it affects the pollinators to a larger extent. Pest control means that we have some natural predators, insects, which are killing the insects which are damaging our crops. So we have natural predators for the insects which are damaging our crops. So Agrobiodiversity is contributing for providing the habitat of these insects, so that resistance, some kind of a protection is given to the crops. Carbon capture I mentioned. Now, if we have variety of crops, variety of agriculture related species, they are capable of capturing lots of carbon. You know, carbon release is a big problem these days, which is contributing to the climate change. So a lot of carbon capture can be done following a package of agroecological practices. There are crops which are used as green manures, if it has been taught in one of your classes. Green manures are those crops which we grow before the of the actual crop, and these are then being plowed back into the soil. They are mostly legumes, and they are providing us carbon, they are providing us nitrogen also, because they are fixing the nitrogen. At the same time, there are many ecosystems which are key for the carbon sequestration. So many trees and the hedges, they are protecting soil. I'll go to a few slides to tell you what is the relevance of soil in contributing to the agrodiversity. Agrodiversity, as I mentioned, it's very important for the source of stress-tolerant genes. The modern genotypes, they don't have stress tolerance. So this means whenever we have to look for any disease attacks the plants, any stress attacks the plants, we have to look for the sources which can provide us the stress tolerance. We have to go back to gene banks. Now this means we can look for wild and traditional varieties which we used to grow earlier, but now they are not available. So, but they are stored in the gene banks. We have to look into these collections to get many traits which are listed here to get stress tolerance. So these genotypes or these collections, they are source of this or these traits. As I mentioned, the traditional varieties, they are requiring stress tolerance. The present day, the modern cultivars, the traditional varieties or the wild cultivar, wild land races, they're having genes for stress tolerance. And we have been breeding, people have been breeding that. It's a common practice now these days to explore the wild population, to explore the traditional varieties, to develop the stress tolerance. This is just an article which I read recently. This is about looking the wild side of the crops, so that climate change is a big issue these days. Heat stress, drought stress, flooding is a major problem in some parts of the country. We have to develop crops resistance to these situations. So we have to look into the wild collections. This is just a part of my research work. What we are doing, we are working on chana, chickpea, and we are developing heat-tolerant varieties of the chickpea. And we are screening large number of collections. At our place, we have collaborations also. You can see here, this is a heat-sensitive variety. This is a heat-tolerant variety because it has been able to develop pods or seeds under heat stress situations, while this one is not able to do that. This is how we perform research after your graduation. When you enter into a further area of plant sciences, this is one of the areas where you can contribute your knowledge, and you can get a job also in many of these aspects in various agricultural institutions. It's just an article which is to tell you that how people publish it. Say one of the scientists, he has screened 20,000 genotypes of wheat for getting disease resistance. This is how it is done in agriculture. Biodiversity of soil is another area. Soil is a hidden half. You don't see what is happening in underground. So 25% of the biodiversity exists below the soil. And this is contributing to the biodiversity above that. Above ground and below ground biodiversity, they have an inseparable interaction. You disturb one of these, you're going to disturb the other ones because its system is very integrative. One of the species, if it's lost, it has its relevance. There's so many insect species which I've listed here. I'm not going to read each one of these, but if you look under microscope, you'll see different types of microorganisms, different types of insects, termites. They all have a relevance, and there's a complete ecosystem below just one plant, just a tree, but for a crop also, for any small crop also. If you disturb anything here, you're going to lose one of these species, which will have long-term implications. What are the benefits of having, soil microorganisms or biodiversity? Soils remain healthy. If you study in detail about soil is a alive system. Soils remain healthy if the microbes are in good number, if they're healthy. We can also use it as a strategy to develop our plants against climate change. Some of the microbes are providing resistance to the climate change, the plant systems. Then they are also improving plant growth. There are many microbes which improve plant growth. We call them as plant growth promoting rhizobacteria, PGPRs. then ultimately, if the crops are developing well, it's contributing to the human health also. Last part about the services, ecosystem services, cultural diversity. You see, in our India, we have so much diversity in our food. If you have been moving around in India, Punjab is famous for many food items. Similarly, Haryana and associated states. So we have so much cuisine culture in our country, which is not available in other countries. This is very surprising. I've been visiting some other countries too, and all they get is, pizza and some smart food, which is quickly made. But in our India, in our country, we are really, really very fortunate to have local cuisines. It's very important to maintain this one. And good thing is, while urban people, they are losing all this culture, the farmers and the tribals mainly, they are maintaining this culture. India has rich cuisine diversity, as I mentioned, how it's being promoted. This is in one of the restaurants in Hyderabad, which is serving 70 to 80 different kinds of food during a festival. This is Ugadi. This is in Hyderabad. This is the Ugadi festival in South India. So they're serving so many different kinds of food materials. This is very good basically because they are promoting the food diversity. If they are promoting food diversity, then this means they are promoting the cultivation of the diverse crops also. We are losing agrodiversity. Why? Because of many reasons. It's a part of a natural process also. But the current trends are very, very serious. Look at the figures. I took it from a news item. This is 1,000 to 10,000 the rate at which the natural extinction took place earlier. So very, very fast. And we have lost many species. 40% of the species, they are at the verge of extinction. And once they are gone, it's an irreversible process. So what are the possible causes? Present day situation is related to change in the climate, some factors. We are getting a lot of pests and diseases also these days. We had a locust attack during Corona times, which never used to happen. You might not have heard also. It had almost vanished. Now we had locust attack. And this can kill thousands of hectares just in one night. Pollution is rising. Everybody can see that. We have a lot of deforestation. You have been studying about these aspects. We're overexploiting everything. All the resources are being overexploited. We're losing, very important from diversity point of view, we're losing traditional knowledge. Our, your parents, if they are doing agriculture, after that, the new generation is not doing it. So where this knowledge has to go? It will vanish after some time. Young generation is leaving country. They are no longer interested in cultivation. We are getting labor from other states who are just interested in the profits. They're not interested in the traditional knowledge. So in a way, we are going to lose the traditional knowledge. So increase in the intensity of all these climatic factors, it's going to affect food production. Our food quality means all the nutrient components which we need. This is going to be serious in future. Just one single factor, heat stress, how it can damage. Heat stress can cause a lot of infections. It can attract new pests. It can decrease the crop production. It can decrease the quality. It can increase the uptake of some toxic metals also into the plant system. That's one aspect not covering here. So that is causing a lot of pollution in the plant systems also. So in nutshell, climate change, particularly the heat stress, is going to cause a lot of problems for the food production. India will be one of the major sufferers. This is projected impact of climate change on agricultural yields. If you look at the red part in India, this is going to show reduction of 25% in the coming years. So this means we have to be very serious in finding out those collections which can help us to survive these situations. So what are the consequences of losing agrodiversity? If you see some of these points I've mentioned, we are going to lose lots of genes. You see, if we lose one accession, or if we lose one species, this means we are losing genes, genetic sources, and that could be a source of tolerance to diseases and pests or abiotic stresses. As Dr. Mandeep mentioned earlier, the potato crop was gone. In a similar way, the corn crop was gone in one of the similar situations because of disease attack. So if we have multiple types of collections, we can save the crops. What is happening culturally? This is the picture which I took from a newspaper. This lady is making a graffiti here, which everybody does these days on festivals. This is from rice. And one of the research scientists, he was mentioning that every time we lose a traditional variety, the Bengal loses a part of the culture. Why? Because in Calcutta, for example, they are using a particular rice genotype or rice collection at the time of birth. For example, a baby is born, they have a say rice festival of that kind. So there is marriage in the home. There is a rice variety which is being used for that purpose. So there are so many. I think there are 13 to 14 different cultural issues in one Bengal family. If one type of variety is lost, they are losing a part of culture. So this is the relevance of losing agrodiversity. Why it is important? Dr. Dhaliwal mentioned a few points when she was addressing the inauguration. So it's very important to have stability in our food systems. Very important to have adaptability to whatever happening around in terms of climate change. Need to have resilience in our cropping systems. This is affecting the livelihood of farmers. And it's very important that our food security is sustained and even it's improved. If we lose agrodiversity because of one or the other reasons, all these factors are going to be lost. Very important from health point of view. If we're having good food, healthy food, nutritious food, people are going to stay healthy. Otherwise, there are many reasons, as I have explained. If we're losing the quality of the food, we are losing the diversity of the food in our food items, the health is going to be affected. What should be done to promote and conserve agrodiversity? The problem is that we are dependent only just on few species of our food, for our food. If you look in the modern society, in the urban food, we're eating just bread and just, rice, wheat, dal, one or two types of dals. And this means we are just using fewer crops all over the world. If you go to any other developed countries, they have more problems than us because they're not producing also. Many of the European countries, they are getting food from other countries. They're not producing also. This means they are restricted only to few items. So that is decreasing the diversity, because if you're not eating diverse food, the farmer is not going to grow it. So how you can contribute? It starts from your plate. Start eating diverse food. Now we need to change our human diets, our diets. Instead of just eating the conventional food material which is available, we need to have some additions in our food diet. So for example, this is not referring only to India, this is referring to the situation all over the world. People are meat eaters in general in Europe and America. So they are not eating pulses. This means you will be surprised to know that Canada is sending all the lentil, masar, to India. Australia is sending all the chana, chickpea, to India. India is the largest importer of these two because we are using these pulses. While Australia and Canada, they're not using themselves. They are meat eaters countries. So we need to consume diverse pulses. In diverse pulses, as I mentioned, so many different kinds of species are known. Just to, on the right side, if you look at this one, on the text, in the text also, there are 50 types of rajma, kidney beans, which are found in Uttarakhand only. So not all these varieties are grown, but we need to promote them. We need to use underutilized pulses. Many species of Vigna, as I mentioned, they need to be promoted, not only from consumption point of view, from farmers' point of view also. Very important that we start using millets again. I mentioned these ones earlier, jawar, ragi, bajra. Now, in the country at national level, there are many institutes which are promoting that. We should promote the consumption of the millets. For example, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. I started my career from this institution, this organization. They have a millet recipe book which is available on their website. Anybody can interested can see that what is to be formed from there, or what is to be prepared from there. Dr. Joanna is a director of this institute, which I mentioned, and she's a great crusader of producing millets. And she has been favoring the production of millets and their products in different forms. The millets are now being produced as noodles or as dosa mixtures also. For example, in Hyderabad, there's a restaurant, I've seen this restaurant, Millet Marvels. This is creating awareness about millets and whole grains as healthy foods. So we can see they are preparing lots of South Indian dishes in the form of dosas and idlis from millets. What are the conservation practices which we should use? Do I have the time, Dr. Mandeep, for a few more minutes to go?
Yes, sir.
Is it
Sure,
okay?
sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So I'll be taking, I think, around 10 minutes or so. Then I'll be winding it up. What kind of conservation practices? This is educative for the students, basically. There is an ex situ way, there is an in situ way. Ex situ means that you are conserving it outside their natural habitats. In situ means you are allowing them to be conserved in their natural surroundings. So both these strategies are to be used for conserving agrodiversity. In India, as a student, you should know what a country is doing about that. We have an institute in Delhi, National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources. This is storing all the collections of all the crops, all the food plants, there or other plants also, I would say that. And if you need any collections from them, you have to write to them. So National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources. At international level, ICRISAT, International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics in Hyderabad. This is a very prestigious institute. They are storing thousands of legumes. Kew Gardens in UK. If you happen to go to this place, please go and visit this one. This is having 700,000 legume species. Huge. ICARDA, International Center for Agriculture Research in Dry Area. Earlier it was in Syria, now it's in Morocco. I work in collaboration with 1 and 2 institutes. So you're getting germplasm from them. So Morocco is storing lots of collections. This is very interesting if you haven't heard earlier. I think some people might have heard earlier. This is a Svalbard Global Seed Vault, which is in Norway. Bill Gates Foundation has contributed to build up of this one. This is a doomsday vault, means if there is a catastrophe on our planet, it's anything which happens on our planet, say our whole crops are gone, say there is a nuclear winter or something like that, or if there is a world war, we're losing crops. It has happened basically earlier also, but there was no source. Earlier, let me give you an example. Syria is a country which was affected by war. Now they started losing all the crops. They lost it. Now they got it from this institute in Morocco again to start doing their agriculture. This is how they are helpful. This is at international level. This is what is the importance here? This is in the hills. And this is in the hills basically, where there is a lot of ice. It's naturally existing in very low temperature situations. So what should be done? Centers of diversity, they are in storage of many collections. They are the natural places where there are lots of collections already existing there, where we need to store them. We need to preserve them further. So we need to take care of these centers further so that these collections are maintained and stored. In India, what is the situation? I think there are 23 to 25 hotspots in India where we have lots of agrodiversity. So you can read these names, some of them, they may be familiar, might have been told in ecology also. They are a rich source of agrodiversity in India. We are getting diverse collections from these spots. What people are doing, what tribals, what farmers are doing. Please mute mic if somebody has kept it on, my request. So what is the contribution of people here? Marginal farmers, tribal farmers, they are contributing towards the collection of the germplasm. Whatever traditional knowledge they have, they are conserving biodiversity on that basis. In Manipur, there are hundreds of land races of rice, which are being preserved. So eastern part of the country is a rice bowl, basically. They're using lots of rice. Staple food is rice, and they are having huge amount of collections. Likewise, many other states might be storing different kinds of crops in their country, in their regions. Contribution of some people. This is Mr. Dev from Calcutta. He has revived more than 1400 rice varieties in the last 25 years. He is working in this direction so that these varieties can be stored, conserved, and then can be further multiplied. He's Mr. Raja. He has revived many mango varieties which were on the verge of extinction. She is Kamla Pujari, recently got Padma Shri. She has revived many traditional varieties. She's also contributing towards organic farming. He's Raghuvanshi from Banaras. He's preserving the traditional varieties and providing free seeds to the others. This man is Mr. Vijay. He has started a new concept, Bara Anaj, means 12 crops in a year. He advocates that let's cultivate 12 crops in a year to promote agrobiodiversity. What we are doing, just 2 crops, rice and wheat, maybe 3 crops. But now he's promoting 12 crops, although yield is going to be affected, but this is one way of promoting agrobiodiversity. Dr. Vandana Shiva, PhD in physics from Punjab University. She's a strong crusader of agrobiodiversity. She's running a NGO, Navdanya, and she is training many women farmers in collections. She's having lots of collection at her NGO also. Professor Swaminathan, a strong supporter of biodiversity, and he has given lots of recommendations to promote agrobiodiversity. He says that we should conserve crop wild relatives of all the crops. We should give incentives to the farmers. There should be seed banks at community levels to store the seeds. So small farmers are contributing a lot in this direction. Large farmers are just into profits, but small farmers, they are contributing a lot because they have small farms, they are cultivating traditional varieties, they are contributing a lot in this knowledge. What is important? We need to revive our traditional knowledge again. Our new generation is not aware about that because we are losing in touch with agriculture. We are just concerned with our food. It's very important we maintain our traditions and start reviving our old traditions again. Lastly now, quickly, what kind of modern technologies can assist? This is from educative point of view to the students. We have many new technologies which can increase biodiversity. Fast breeding means generally we get just 2 generations or 1 generation in a year. This means we have now controlled environment where we can have controlled environment anywhere if somebody wants to do that. This means we can get 6 generations. There's a way of doing that. It's a whole technology. We can get 6 generations in 1 year. This means you can accelerate the breeding very fast. Then genetically modified plants. Gene editing is the latest technology. Just read that. CRISPR-Cas is the name. Gene editing can make use of some of the plants where the food is not edible because of one of the other reasons. Say they have a bitter component, they don't have much nutrition, but gene editing technology or GM technology can lead to this. For example, there are many nutritious plants. They are available in the nature, but they are not edible to the humans. For example, cotton seed oil, we don't use it for cooking because of the reason they have gossypiol inside the seeds, which is not good for our health. It's a deterrent for the pest. But genetically modified plant has been produced where there is no gossypiol. Now it can be used for production for cooking purposes also. Mustard seeds, they're rich in glucosinolate and erucic acid, which adds to pungency and bitter taste. Genetically modified seeds, they don't have these components. So we are adding to the biodiversity basically by using these technologies. Now they are edible. GM rice, which is rich in vitamin A. This is biofortification. We are adding to the enrichment of the rice germplasm by changing certain nutritional conditions in the grains. Now this has been made available in Thailand or Philippines. This is one of the first country, either of two, which has allowed the cultivation of GM crop, golden rice. This is an article which somebody wants to read, how different technologies, current day technologies. This is very good for the students if they want to prepare some for examinations and interviews. How gene editing technologies they are adding to food security and nutrition-rich food. What kind of methods are being used? In our country, what has happened? The Honorable Prime Minister has released 17 biofortified crop varieties recently of different crops. Biofortification means we are enriching the grains with different minerals or other components such as zinc and protein in this case. Won't be able to read the other ones. Just to give you an idea that now there is a way to increase the nutrient content or other components through natural means agronomic means, or through genetically modified means. Both practices are being used. They are contributing to increase in agrodiversity. What is government doing to promote agrodiversity? Government has started paying the farmers to grow other crops. This has become true in case of Punjab and in case of Haryana also. So they are paying extra money to the farmers to grow other crops, so that just don't depend upon wheat and rice, but grow other crops also. So now to sum up, agrodiversity is very important because of so many things which I have spoken here. It's very important that our agricultural fields and our agricultural practices, they adapt agrodiversity. There are many factors, reasons which can be discussed with the experts, how to promote that. Scientists are always available for that. But I have spoken about all these points, why agrodiversity is important. So most importantly, if we look into the diverse aspects of the food which is available on our planet, we are going to enhance our food security. We are going to enhance our nutritional security. So I'm ending my talk here. If you have any questions, you can ask me. After that, I'll be talking about this part, because Dr. Mandeep particularly mentioned to me that I should discuss this part also with the students. If you have any questions, I'm open for that.
So I think we first talk about the careers also, and then in the end we will talk about
all right.
questions if we have.
So you have BSc classes going on?
Yes, so we have BSc medical students.
Medical students. So BSc students, if they go for a career in botany, what would be happening to them? First of all, how should they approach their career? They can do MSc from a good place. Entrance tests are available in all the universities. You have to apply for that, and there are usual way to select the students. At my place also, I think we have 25 seats now for the people coming from outside, and 25 they are already BSc students who are directly promoted. So it's a kind of integrated for those students who are already here. So Dr. Mandeep is a student of our department, so she might be able to tell you in detail how to get admission here. Otherwise, we have in many colleges, in many universities, MSc Botany is available. And after you do MSc, you must have CSA or NET. You must is an underline. Otherwise, you're not going to get job. And you need a fellowship also, because MSc doesn't take you much further. You need to have either MPhil, but most likely you go for PhD if you're going to make career here. If you want to stay in India, go for a PhD instead of going for MPhil. But in some places, MPhil is also being done. Like in our department, MPhil is available, but students don't prefer. Students straight away go to PhD. Now, if you want to go abroad, straight away I'm telling you from here, after doing your MSc from a good place, start applying to Canada or Australia. You may have to do another MS. They call it as MS. But it will be easy for you, because sometimes what happens is they don't give you admission straight away into PhD on the basis of MSc from any Indian institution, because they want their own, they prefer their own degrees. So, but sometimes you can get through also. It depends upon the university. You can talk to the university, but it's always better to have one MS more. That will prepare you better. After that, MS from Canada or Australia, just choosing these two countries because most of the people are going there, then you can go into directly into the job, into industry. If you want to go into academics, then go for PhD. PhD is a long inning, 5 years, and there's a long waiting also after doing PhD. But eventually you get a job in college or in university. University jobs are difficult to get. In colleges, you can do it. So like in your place also, you have faculty members who have done PhD from different places in India. If you want a quick way out, then after MSc do B.Ed. So you can have entry into schools, government schools or any private schools. That's way of quick settlement in life also, because many parents, they are looking for this aspect that our girls and, especially for the girls, they should be settled earlier. And I have advised many students to go for B.Ed also after MSc, and they have got good jobs. I can give you examples. I have names with me who have got good government jobs. So that is one of the quickest way to settle down. So career is very good. I won't say gloomy scenes, but it's coming up very well now. 2 of my students recently got job in Punjab government on the basis of entrance test. And last time, I think before Corona, 2 students got job in Himachal on the basis of test and interview. So people are getting jobs. You should be good. You should be having good CV. Like prepare yourself well for any interviews and sure you're going to get job. Now, what kind of research areas you can follow? In MSc Botany also now, in new education policy, it has been mentioned that the second year of the MSc should have research only. We never used to have like that kind of situation. We used to give 1 semester that to, part-time, not full semester we used to give for research. Now we are going to change. So all these areas which are listed here, taxonomy, pathology, ecology, physiology, biochemistry, biotechnology, latest ones are genomics. If you're trained well in these areas, you can get job. You can, many good students are moving abroad also, because I would also suggest go abroad. If you really want to flourish, it's not that I'm discouraging people to stay in India, because we also need good people. But you can always come back, do your higher education there and come back, serve your own country. But it depends upon you. But they have careers. Like, because every year from my department, 2 or 3 students are going. They are serious enough to go abroad and they start applying early. And you have careers in all these. Taxonomists are not available now anywhere. If you are well-trained taxonomist after your MSc or PhD, you will get a job very quickly. Pathologists are getting jobs in agricultural institutions very easily. Ecology in environmental institutions. Physiology, biochemistry are also getting jobs in different institutions. Biotechnology and molecular biology is going to be a new aspect which will be revolutionary, because now with gene editing and many research areas in biotechnologies, industry will be coming up. Now it's very slow in India. I don't know what are the reasons, but in biotechnology we have very less industry. Whatever is there, that's in Bangalore or in Hyderabad. So this means the people who are coming from Bangalore or Hyderabad, they are advantage over there because they are preferring their people from own states. But that doesn't block you anywhere. You can learn. Everybody should learn genomics. The present day generation, everybody should learn. अगर पैसे भी देने पड़ते हैं ना, कहीं आजकल trainings पैसे देके करते हैं कई जगह पे. So just go and attend that. Dr. Mandeep can tell you better. And learn these techniques. They'll be extremely useful to you if you go into academics. And even if you become teacher in school or college, you're going to teach these things. And after your MSc, for example, in botany, you can enter into forestry industry. There are jobs in industry also. But we have less industry in forestry and in other aspects which are related, mentioned here. Other countries, they are coming into. For example, Canada is having lots of people from forestry and environmental sciences. If you do MSc from here and have good knowledge about MSc botany, If you need to do another MS, you can do it in forestry or environmental sciences. You will straight away get the job. And then horticulture is there, pharmacy, medicinal plants. There are many companies in India also, which are related to agriculture. So many girls are also going into this, and they are taking as marketing executive also for selling their products. They are also taking them into production. For example, they need people from breeding. Environmental sciences, right now it's slow, but likely to pick up. Food science also right now it's slow, so likely to pick up. So in a way, like many people, most of the people, they get jobs. Sometimes there is struggle. Depends upon your conditions also, where you are basically. Sometimes you're not able to struggle also because you are at a place where you're not able to move to many places. So sometimes students are just looking for a job around their place. It's not that easy, and that is saturated. So for getting job, you have to move away from your place. And most important thing is develop yourself, develop your abilities. Most important thing. If you are excellent at your profession, nobody can ignore you anywhere. So develop yourself. And stopping here, if you want to discuss anything about any aspects which I've talked about today, you're welcome.
Thank you, sir. I now request students, if they have any queries, you can ask sir. You can switch on your mic and ask sir about your queries. Neha Sharma has sent a beautiful compliment, sir, in messages.
Thank you, Neha.
Sorry, it's a Hina Sharma.
Okay, thank you, Hina.
Any queries, please, students? Okay, sir, I will also ask you to Dr. Harpreet Sidhu. She is my senior here. She is also saying thank you, sir. I feel immense pride and privilege to have interacted with you, sir, during my PhD years, though I missed the chance to study from you because you were working at HPAU at that time. So Professor Nayyar has elaborated upon the various aspects of agricultural biodiversity, about how it affects the food security. He told about the different levels of agrobiodiversity, benefits of agrodiversity. Sir also talked about the harmful effects of today's agriculture, which is basically a monoculture. And he touched upon the diversity at levels of specific, generic, and ecosystem levels. Sir told about the huge amount of diversity we have in our food crops. And Sir talked about the various causes and future consequences of loss of biodiversity and agricultural diversity, what strategies we should follow. Sir, I will also like to add here that there is a Kheti Virasat Mission, KVM it is called, if you know about it. Their
Yes.
nodal center is in Jaipur. And
Yes.
about 10 to 12 kilometers from our college, we have Mr. Kamaljeet Singh here. He is an advocate basically, and he started doing organic farming. And he has more than 20 different varieties of fruits in his farm. So
Great.
that is a place we should all visit. And so with all these words, I thank you with my bottom of my heart. And now I request... I request to please give a vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mandeep ma'am. Thanks a lot, sir, for this wonderful session. It is an honor to have been asked to offer a vote of thanks. I, on the behalf of Department of Basic Sciences and management of the institutions, I am very gratitude to all the speakers of today's national webinar. First is Professor Subhash Sao, Assistant Professor in Chemistry from Department of Chemistry, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Professor Manish Dev Sharma, Assistant Professor in Physics, Department of Physics, Punjab University, Chandigarh. And our today's guest, Professor Harsh Nair, Professor from Department of Botany, Punjab University, Chandigarh. for sharing their graceful words with us in this webinar. I am thankful to all the 300 participants of different states for attending this two-day national webinar. And I am very thankful to our college principal, Dr. Tajinder Kaur Taliwal, for giving us such an opportunity to organize this webinar, and also very thankful to Department of Biotechnology, New Delhi for sponsoring this webinar. I also thank the entire faculty members of the Department of Basic Sciences for such an appreciating involvement and willingness they have expressed to finish this task. And I thankful to all the members and all present here, everyone. Thanks to all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Nice to have a chat.